listeners of Brisco and Bradshaw. I would be Bradshaw. That would be your Chickasaw native, your Chickasaw Hall of Famer, Oklahoma's favorite son, Mr. Gerald Brisco. And what a treat we have today. One of the best guys in the history of business, one of the best families in the history of the business, and one of the most iconic guys in the history of business. One of the best storylines, one of the best angles, one of the most controversial parts, which he and Jerry kind of worked together on. He is the legend, Mr. Earl Hebner. Mr. Earl, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Hey, Earl, man, it's about time we had you on here, man. You and I go back so many years. I can't even remember the first year. Back in the old Mid-Atlantic days, or the old Crockett days, the old Murdoch days, as you guys will call them up in Virginia there, the Murdoch days. Old Joe and Elliot, Carl Murdoch. We got some great stories on the Murdoch family that Mid-Atlantic wrestling there in Richmond, Virginia. One of the iconic places, not only in the South for wrestling, but in the entire United States, Richmond, because of the Hebners, the Hebner family, and Mid-Atlantic promotion there. Man, what are your glory days? When did you and Brother Dave, which, by the way, this guy has an identical twin, so I don't blame us, for Earl. Earl, who was the oldest? Was it you or Dave was the oldest?
Dave, 5 minutes.
5 minutes older, man. You never let him forget that. I forget that.
No. You know, when it come to the Vietnam War, they couldn't cure us both. So they said, we got to take the oldest one. I said, well, he's 5 minutes older. Get him.
So you volunteered your brother for a Vietnam draft, man. That's a good brother there, man.
Did he end up having to go?
Yeah, he went. They couldn't take the
so you didn't have to go, and he had to go because he's the older one?
Right.
You soused your damn brother off to go to war. That's a scoop right here. We're already opened up with a scoop, John.
Hey, I already screwed my brother. Look at there.
That's great.
But when you and Dave, go ahead, John. I'll get in there.
How long was he in Vietnam, and was he mad at you?
Was he mad at you?
Hey, he was over there for 3 years.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
And what did you do during that 3 years? Sit back and chase women, probably.
Yeah, I was sitting over here having good food and dodging cars, not bullets.
Well, cool. But Dave, going back to those old Mid-Atlantic, Earl, going back to those old Mid-Atlantic days, you and your brother Dave sitting there watching Mid-Atlantic wrestling. I'm sure you flashed on the Brisco brothers a few times. But what made you guys get into professional wrestling? And what was the point where you guys said, "Man, this is cool. Let's try our hand at this"?
Well, we was putting the rings up and selling the merchandise back then, And
how did you get involved in that, though?
Well, we were working for the concession at the old cattle barn when y'all come to Richmond.
Yeah.
And we were putting the ring up and for Mr. Murdoch and everything. And then one day he came in, he goes, Earl, I need you to do me a favor. And I go, well, what's that, Mr. Murdoch? He said, I need you to referee tonight. And I go, Mr. Murdoch, I don't know nothing about a referee. And he said, hell, Earl, all you got to do is listen. But Angelo Martinelli had a heart attack coming up here, and he passed away. So
I remember when that happened. Now,
right, and back then, you only had one referee. So I said, okay, I'll try it. So I did it, and I did pretty good. Learning and everything. I was nervous.
You remember the first match that you refereed?
You know what? Not really. I remember one of the first matches I had was Sam Houston and some other guy. I can't think of his name, but Sam looked like a spaghetti noodle back then.
Yeah.
He never looked much different from a spaghetti noodle. He had charisma, but he wasn't built.
No.
As Black Bart used to say about Dick Murdoch, you look like an upside down light bulb, Dick. He can work though.
Oh God, could he ever? Hey, in Fayetteville, he hit the ropes one night and the ropes snapped. He went over the first row and second row of people. Over the rope back then, we had a rope. We didn't have the rails like we do today, but he went over all of them. And man, he messed himself up, but he popped right back up and come back in that ring You know, Bart.
So your first night was in.
Wait a minute, Jay. Was that Murdoch or Bart that broke the rope?
Black Bart.
Oh, good, Black Bart. Oh, yeah. Oh my God, Black Bart was one of my first tag team partners. I know Bart.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, Earl. I used to come in with my cowbell, and when Bart would be sitting there at that big trash can, like everybody saw him do, spitting in that trash can, pushing up his glasses. Oh my God.
Right.
And he'd look up and he'd hear that cowbell, and he goes, "I hate that sound because I know that long, tall drinker shits with it." That's about me. Bart was the best.
Oh God, yes.
So
one of your first matches when you got in the ring, were you smart to the business at all?
Not really. Not really.
You still aren't.
I'm still not. I'm still not smart. That's how everybody gets screwed. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah. For those that don't know Joe Murdoch was probably one of the classiest men and that come through our business. The guy was a great businessman. He was a amateur boxer. I believe he even represented the United States in one of the Pan American Games or Olympic Games or some type of game back in the 40s or 30s. But he was an NC State guy and a Carolina guy. He supported their athletic team. He was always one of those guys who was out front, a very, very gentleman, well-respected gentleman around the Carolina. So when he came and got you, that must have meant a lot for you because you probably looked up to Joe as you were setting up the rings and everything.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, I'd go around to the towns he was in, like Charlottesville, Roanoke, or whatever, and always set the rings up and always be there. And he always believed in me. He had a lot of confidence. It was never a doubt that I wouldn't be there.
Well, that's a mark of a professional and a reliable referee, and that's definitely probably why you caught on there. But your first night in the business, that John asked you, did they smarten you up in any way, or did they just tell you to shut up and go out there and listen and count three when it was time to count three? And did you have trouble learning how to count three?
Well, he goes, well, just listen to me. And I said, okay. And he'd say, make him break. I said, okay, back up. And then when we got ready to go home, he goes, okay, kid, this is it. Count three. I said, okay.
And so back in those days, there weren't many referees out there. So you probably became with Angela, because Angela was the Crockett number one referee during that time frame there. So you probably had your hand full, with bookings right off the bat, just screen out of the business. When did your brother come along?
He came along about when I did. We started mixing it up, one would referee one week and one would referee the next week, and hell, nobody ever knew anyway. So.
Yeah, probably. Did the talent even know that there were two of you, or they'd say, were you still setting up the rings also?
Right. Yeah. Doing it all. But you know what? In all honesty, when I went there was Stu Schwartz, Sonny Fargo, and Tommy Young and Angela, and it was just unreal. I'm sitting here today talking to you guys, especially you, Brisco, because I got a picture at home of you and your brother Jack that I got it somewhere here, and because I've looked at it a million times, and it's you just can't replace that picture. You can make a duplicate, but it's not the same.
So out of those referees, I mean, they're the all-star group of referees, with all the guys you named there. And Stu Schwartz was, of course, one of my all-time favorites, because the Florida connection I had with Stu. And even Stu passed away just a few miles from me, and I was able to go visit him the day before, and so he holds a place near and dear to my heart. But which one of those referees was it? Tommy Young, I think I read somewhere, that kind of took you under his wing and kind of started showing you the ropes and everything.
Tommy Young is the one that tutored me to be number two. He's number one. I can't take it from Tommy, but I could be number two, but Tommy was the best, the greatest,
So in your mind, all the referees you've seen over the years, Tommy Young was the best that you ever worked with?
The best, the best.
What made him? What made him so good?
The way he presented himself in the ring, and he could slide from here to China and count to 3. And I love that slide. And I said, I got to learn it. I got to learn it. And finally I did learn it, but he was just so accurate. He could slide in and hit 1, a little more sliding 2 and 3. He was right at the guy's head. I mean, back then that was amazing to me, you know?
Yeah. Down in Texas, they just basically used old wrestlers for referees until later when David Manning came along. You know, they had Bulldog Danny Pletchis, who was a big shooter, Bronco Lubitsch, who was a great manager and wrestler in the 50s and 60s and owned part of the company. Did they have the same up where you were? I mean, was there any pushback for you getting in the business without having a wrestler background?
No, well, really not, because I was needed. They didn't have one. So something was better than nothing that night.
Yeah. Was it a spot show? Was it the old Richmond Fairgrounds?
It's an old Friday night house show.
A Friday night house show, the Richmond Fairgrounds. What an
Yeah.
iconic place that was. One of my favorite places
Oh
of
my
all
God.
time to go wrestle.
Did Angelo die on the way to the show?
I think so, because Mr. Murdoch said he passed away on the way here.
He had a heart attack on
Right.
the way up there, and I think they had to pull over. And
Right.
You think he died?
Well, you know, he wasn't dying; he wasn't dead at that time, John. But when they got by the time the hospital got to him, he had done passed away. But Angelo was the one that introduced me to horse racing. He took me to Baltimore to what is the Preakness there in your hometown of Baltimore, John?
Yeah, that's right. One of the triple eggs.
One of the triple when Secretariat was running and the racing. We saw Secretariat. He taught me how to bet on horses, which I always cussed him out about because I never won like he did. The guy knew his horse.
You saw Secretariat run?
We saw him run. Yeah, I saw her run. What was her or he?
I don't know.
Her. Hey, Secretary was down here on a farm about 30 miles from my house.
No kidding. Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
How long did Secretariat live after? I guess she was probably a 2-year-old, 3-year-old when she won the
2-year-old. Yeah.
When it won the Triple Crown. So
yeah,
it could have been there for almost 2 decades, right? But they must have made a fortune off Secretariat.
Oh yeah.
I think Secretariat was the highest. What do we call that breeded horse ever in the history of thoroughbred racing?
Yep.
But anyway, he
was like the horse Rizat.
Yeah, he was a horse. He was a horse king, man. So, and as a matter of fact, just a couple of miles from down my road here, a guy owned a horse called Spendabuck that won 2 legs of the Triple Crown. It come in second and a third leg there, and they made a fortune. I think that was back a few years back too, and they were making the breeding fees were just in a multi-millions of dollars for these horses. What a life these horses have, man, after they win one of those races, man.
No kidding.
If only we could be so lucky. John was the longest reigning world champion of all time on SmackDown. Just think of his breeding feed.
Yeah, you think
Earl, maybe you and I could start a business with him.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
We'd have to clear it with Meredith first. I don't think she'd approve.
That's right. Have a bunch of pigeon-toed kids that get a lot of heat. So Earl, there that time, was that your job, and you decided this was going to be my job the rest of my life, the wrestling? Did you really enjoy it, or was it just kind of a convenience that this happened and you needed work?
Well, I wanted to do it, but Jim Crockett, he didn't pay a lot of money. And when I first started, hell, I was only making $15 a night.
Wow.
That's it. That was it. But I was doing okay putting the ring up because Mr. Murnick took care of me. You know what I mean? Him, Cole, and Elliot were great people to work for, believe me. But I knew I couldn't make a living just doing that, not on $15 a night. And then on top of that, if you saw an airport, you were passionate driving from Richmond to Charlotte or Greensboro or Fayetteville. So, you were buying your gas and all that crap. But it finally worked out. I hung in there and it finally worked out. So that was good.
How long did you actually work for Mid Atlantic before you guys made the move up?
I probably worked for them about 12, 15 years.
Wow, a long time.
You know, now you could take some of that as doing the ring until I got into refereeing, but I was there about 15 years with them.
Were you still in school then, Earl, or did you graduate from school?
No, I was still in. I was in my senior year.
Senior year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So was you on TV? Were doing any referees?
No, just a
house
right.
show. That
right.
were you traveling at that time, or just doing Richmond and Jones territory?
So just doing well. I started like we do Longwood College all up through there, you know, with the Mr. Murnick. I do mostly the Murnick towns, but I didn't get to do TVs until probably a year after I started refereeing.
Which one of you guys kind of took to it quicker, you or Dave?
What's that?
Which one of you guys kind of took the referee quicker, you or Dave? Or which one understood the business quicker?
I don't know. We kind of took it. We were quick learning, both of us, really.
Well, Dave was 5 minutes ahead of you, so he was at least 5 minutes.
Right, Dave was 5 minutes ahead of me, but you know, by being twins, we were always trying to do each other.
Yeah, right.
Be better than the.
Did you guys have contests on see you know what was going on the quickest, or you know who got the most main events and stuff like that?
Well, actually, if Tommy was on the show,
you knew Tommy was going to have the main event, yeah.
Right. But and then we were in Baltimore. I'll never forget this. We had a big crowd, and they used both of us, and Ole Anderson would make one do one match and one do the other match. We go back and forth, back and forth. I go, man, this is bullshit. But you know, Ole was Ole.
Yeah. So did the crowd? I'm sure the crowd saw you guys setting up the ring, but were they aware that there were two of you, or were they by the end of the night? Man, you guys are working your ass off. Here's a beer.
Man, this guy's killing himself. He's going back and forth, back and forth. He's blown up.
Hey Earl, how did you get the match with? Because I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. How'd you get the match with Magnum TA and Tully? You did the I Quit match, right?
Right.
How'd you get that? Was Tommy? I mean, Tommy would normally put himself in those matches, wouldn't he?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess Dusty wanted me to do it. You know, Dusty was. Dusty's the one that really gave me the full-time job. You know, and he used to call Baby Earl, listen to me, Baby Earl. And I'll never forget this. We were in Philadelphia, and we had a cage match, and Tommy was there, and Dusty called me and go, Baby Earl, come here. I go, yeah. He goes, I'm gonna put you in a cage match tonight, me and the boss man. And I said, okay, but you got to get color. I go, Dusty, I don't know how to get no damn color. Well, I'll tell you what, Baby Earl, we're gonna throw you into the cage, and you fall right by me, and I'll take care of it. I'll get you. I said, okay. And Tommy Young went berserk. He goes, what in the hell? I've been in this business all my life. I've never gotten color. That's bullshit. And he was so pissed at me for a while. It was unreal. I said, well, go tell Dusty. I don't care. I said, I don't know how to do it. No way. He's going to do it to me. And man, he was really upset, but
just opposite the boys. The boys didn't get cut. Oh, great.
Yeah, and then that's when JJ was his assistant. So JJ was late getting there, and Dusty goes in and he goes, Baby Earl, come in. Here's what I want. We sat down. We went over the whole show, and I go, well, Dusty, what about JJ? What are you gonna tell JJ when he comes in? If JJ comes in, you tell him, come see me. You the man in charge tonight. I go, yeah, I'm not gonna tell him that shit.
No. So you knew how to get heat right away, right when you're young in the bed.
Oh man, I'm going, man. This ain't working here.
So how was JJ's reaction when JJ finally made it in and said, "Hey JJ, too late, I'm running the show"? Or what was your verbiage to JJ? JJ was the guy that was loved by everybody.
Well, to really make it really bad, a heat getter, he goes, "What are we doing, Dream?" He goes, "Go see Baby Earl."
You didn't find him that night for being late, did you?
No, I didn't. Shit, I was more nervous telling him what was going on than I was my first match.
Well, kind of walk us through that. JJ comes in the building and you're running around delivering finishes. JJ kind of look at you, "Earl, come here a second. What's going on?" Or did you pass the heat over to Dave?
No, I passed it back to Dusty. I said, "Here's what Dusty told me. If it ain't right or something's wrong with it, you go see him." I bailed myself out of that jam.
That territory at that time, Earl, you were there with the Four Horsemen. You were there with Magnum TA, Nikita. How would you compare those guys as being over as to later factions that we had, like DX and groups like that?
Well, honestly, Crockett had a gold mine. Believe me, he really did. I mean, we would do Greensboro on Saturday and do Charlotte Sunday, and every damn weekend that thing would sell out. You know, I'm talking about the old Coliseum now, not the new one. But God knows the talent that he had was so gifted. I mean, go back to Wahoo, you know, and the Bolos and Brute and Skull Murphy. I mean, it was just characters that were like you can't make anymore. It was believable. You know what I mean? And the kayfabe was if you didn't kayfabe, you won't go be around because your ass is gone.
They ran a solid territory, but they had solid rules there too. And the guys knew what the rules were. And the guys really lived the roles there. But they had a gold mine, like you say. You know, that territory was so rich in tradition. I mean, we go back to, like you said, the Bolos. You know, the great Bolos, the Tom Modesto and Al Lovelock, and you know Becker Weaver. You know, Becker and Weaver kind of set the standard for that territory for so many years. Were you setting up the ring during the Becker Weaver? Was that way before your time?
No, I was setting the ring up.
Wow.
I thought that you know, by me being a mark then, and I probably still am, but when we would put that sleeper hole on, I just believed it. I was a believer back then. That man is gone. He's sleeping.
And it wasn't a finer guy than Johnny Weaver either, was it?
Oh my God. And another story, this is funny too, while I'm thinking of it. When Ernie Ladd was here, he was working with Weaver, you know, and they'd be in the dressing room, and you know how Ernie plays cards, and I'd go in and I say, "Okay, guys, what are we doing tonight?" Ernie be sitting there like this with a toothpick in the ear. He goes, "Tell you what, kid, come back in a little while. I'll let you know what's going on." I said, "Yes, sir."
When did you and Dave start getting in the card game? Dave was more the card player than you, wasn't he?
No, I was.
Oh, you were.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason Dave.
John, they were identical twins. I don't know if you couldn't tell them apart. That's okay. You know, I couldn't either for 20 years.
You still can't. You're still calling him Dave.
Yeah. Well, one of them had a little bit bigger derby than the other. That's how I could tell them apart back in the old days.
Yeah. But
I got the pleasure of separating them in a brother fight up in Canada.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that, Earl. What you remember of it? Then we'll get the real story from John.
Yeah, because I was the only one there. I was the only one with them.
This was a legit fight, right? At a truck stop or somewhere.
It was at a restaurant. It was they were sitting at a table.
Well, same thing. Your restaurant for truck stop, John.
Yeah, they're sitting at two sides, and all of a sudden, Earl says something like, "You've been messing with me since we were kids," something like that. I'm going, "Oh my God, this is about to be a brother fight." And all of a sudden, Earl pops Dave. Dave starts fighting. I'm the only one there. I separate them. I said, "Earl, that's your brother. You can't be doing that." Earl goes, "I'm sorry, John." And when I looked down, he popped him again.
Dave, how do you remember that, Earl?
No, wait a minute. Dave pulled the knife
What?
Yeah, Dave pulled a knife. And now I'm sitting here with a brother fight. One's brother has got a knife, and the other brother just won't stop fighting. And I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. What a disaster. I don't know what to do. Because I knew at some point they're brothers and they're going to turn on me. I don't know how something like that's going to happen.
Is that how you remember it, Earl?
Yeah. It was I think David was an agent then, I think, John. I'm not 100% sure.
He was. Yeah, he was.
And he was telling me, he was ordering me around. And I can't exactly remember how it was. But anyway, we got to arguing over that. About something I did in the ring he didn't like or some shit. And I went off on him.
He pulled a butter knife on you. Huh?
Yeah.
Hey, the best part was, Jerry, was I got Earl settled down, and now I'm like, okay, fine. And as soon as I look down and go to sit back down, Earl punches him again. And now they got to fight again. Earl was just waiting for the opportunity to keep fighting. And he suckered me into it. He goes, okay, I'm sorry, John. I go, okay, fine. Bam, bam, bam. Out comes the butter knife. And it was in Canada.
Well, I know
I can
my
fighting over the blue checks.
yeah. I know my brother and I were in a lot of brotherly fights along the way. Did you and Earl get into a few fights other than that along your lifetime?
Not, yeah, now and then, but not. It wasn't a whole lot. Just now and then.
Yeah. We had your son Brian on, who refereed so many of my matches. And the one thing he asked was, he goes, "Tell me about the brother fight." I was there. I was the only one there.
Hey, I did his podcast last night with him, and he called me up and he asked me would I come on it. He had Ken Patera on it last night, and I said sure. And man, it was a lot of fun.
We had Kenny on it. Kenny was a lot of fun when we had him on our show. He was a good guy. So. I was going to rib with him. I was going to tell him I heard you bought a franchise in McDonald's, but you call it Slap Burger. but I didn't want to start no shit. I didn't want to start nothing with it. Well, you're 1,000 miles away. You've been pretty safe. I don't think he can throw a rock that far. Right. But he might be able to hire an ex-employee at McDonald's to come over and throw it through your window. you never know about this business. Yeah.
It's like the version that the boys tell each other sometimes. They're going like, that's the version you tell at home. You can tell us the truth because we're not believing you. You had to love having. We'll get back. You had to love having your son in the business with you, Earl. When Brian was with you,
it was great. He was sort of like me. Growing up, he loved the business. He wanted to do it, and this, that, and the other. And if I'd have known he was going to be better than me, I'd never got him in there. But it was really it's something that I got to do and that I love. And most brothers or twins never get to do the deals that David and I did and Brian did. It's sort of it was a family affair, but it a lot of people will never get that opportunity, and it was just, it made me feel great that to see my son doing a good job. Now, and you got a lot of referees that do a good job too, but the rest of them aren't my son. But Brian was a hustler. He wanted it, and I picked him to death when he first got there. I told him I said, "Brian, come here for a minute." He goes, "Yeah, Dad." I said, "You counted to 3, but how'd you see the guy's shoulders when you had your head up his ass?" He goes, "Oh, you're never satisfied." I said, "No, it's not that. I want you to be good. I want you to know what you do wrong." "Well, okay. But I gave him hell, but he turned out good.
When Brian first started, who did he go to the most? Was it Earl, or was it Dave, or was it you that he was hounding the most to get into business?
Me.
You.
Yeah.
he was a good referee. I'm a really good referee. I always enjoy being out there with him. I mean, you know, because you need a good referee that's smart.
Right.
And Brian's a very smart guy because you got to sometimes you got to relay messages on the fly. You know, when you're calling stuff out there or something goes wrong, and they got to know they got to take it right then and
Right.
relay it correctly.
Right.
It's not always an easy job, especially when you're calling so much in the ring. When you're calling so much in the ring, the referee is really important.
Right. Now, Katie's been working out with AEW, and she's going down to Florida in a couple of weeks to do a taping. So I hope everything will work out good for her. So
That's your daughter, right?
yeah. She was wrestling, but she cracked a bone in her back a while back, and I wanted her to be a referee to begin with, but you know, everybody wants to do their own thing. So I'll let, you know, it's fine with me, whatever she wants, what makes her happy. But you know, so if that works out, we'll have another Hebner in the business.
That'll be awesome. You can't have enough Hebners in the business. I tell you that.
I don't know.
Earl, how did you and Dave end up going to WWE from Crockett?
All right. George Scott was a booker for Crockett. Okay, and somehow or another he loved David. He liked David. So when they hired George to go up there to be the booker, he took David with him. That's how David got there. And then, you know, like when we did the twin deal, then that's how I got there.
How long had Dave been up there before you did the twin deal?
David was up there. Well, David was up there for 30 years. I was up there 17.
Wow.
So he was up there 10, 13 years before.
Dave was there. In other words, Dave was there in the beginning when the WWE first started going national and globally, right?
Right.
Because George was the first booker.
Yep. But let me tell you the little deal on the Crockett deal here. Sandy was the head of the rings and all the other shit, you know. And so when I got the deal with WWF, I called him up and I said, Sandy, I'm gonna be leaving. And but I said, you'll have the ring crew. I'm leaving the ring crew here, and I'm selling them the bus that I'm carrying the ring in. So your ring crew, you'll still have, you know. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm going up to work for Vince. Well, no, you can't do that. And once in a while, me and Sandy would have hit our heads together and have a.
Now, this is Sandy Scott, for those that don't know, whose brother was George Scott, right?
Right. You know, and he kept saying, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Finally, I said, Sandy, I don't know, but if you can't fucking understand English, I'm leaving. I'm going up there because I never made that much money in my life till I got there, and I left. But Sandy was, man, you can't do this to me. You're letting me down, whatever. And I got to go, man. So I left.
I was reading in one of your interviews where Dave was up there, like you say, and Dave called you and they said they want you to come up here too, and so they flew you and Dave up together a couple of times. But tell us about those first meetings and your impression and your mindset about what this guy was presenting to you. Did you think he was crazy as hell? Because a lot of us did. Or did you think, man, this guy is a visionary, this guy can go place? What were your thoughts in your first meetings up there? And how did those meetings take place?
Well, we went up there and the guy took us to his house at first. We stayed there at the house. And he picked us up in the limo and took us back to the office. And hell, I don't think I've ever rode in a limo in my whole life. So we got to the office and we went in this big ass room, which y'all know. And we sit there, and Vince came in and he sat down and talked to us.
This is, I'm trying to interrupt, this is even before the tower, this is back in Summer Street office, right? That little
No,
house.
this was a tower.
This was the tower, okay.
I think it was. I'm trying to think.
Well, it don't
think-
matter.
Oh yeah. Hello, Joey. I'm getting old now. But anyway, so we sat there and Vince came in and talked to us and blah 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 blah. And I was telling David and I said, you know, I kind of hate to leave the NWA, you know. I just hate leaving them. And David said, "Are you nuts?" And I go, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're gonna make some good money here." And I go, "Well, I know, David, but I just hate letting them down." So anyway, he said, "Well," now I was undecided. I said, "Well, I don't know. I got to think about it." So Vince said, "Well, okay, you guys think about it. We'll bring you up in a couple more days. We'll go, next week we'll bring you back up again and we'll figure out what we'll go do." So I said, "Okay." We said, "Okay." So after Vince leaves, this lady comes in and she gives us an envelope. Okay. And I'm thinking, damn. And I said, "Well, what's this for?" She said, "That's for your services." Vince said, "That's for your services for the day." So I said, "Oh, okay." So I opened the envelope. I looked at it. I said, "Holy shit, this is more than Crockett paid me all last year."
Wow.
And I said, I looked at Dave. I said, "I'll take the job.
Well, I mean,
I'll do it. I'll do it."
All of a
No,
sudden,
we're-
it didn't feel so bad anymore.
Yeah.
Were you noticing, during that lead up to that visit, though, that Dave's lifestyle was kind of changing a little bit, that he was kind of upgrading himself in certain areas, or was Dave the Dave that we all know, frugal guy, and didn't really let on what he was making during that time? Or was you aware that Dave was making huge money?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was-
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Earl, why didn't nobody think about this before? You got twin referees. You're both referee and you're refereeing in two different territories. That just seems crazy to me that somebody wouldn't think about something like that. Was this never pitched to you before? Anything like this?
Well, no. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, when they were doing all this, figuring out this, that, and the other, David told Vince, he said, "I got a twin brother." And that's had happened. So I understand now, because they were saying, "Man, we got to make an imposter. We got to make somebody look like Dave." And then Dave said, I got a twin brother.
Yeah, I get there one you better. One better.
They were actually looking for somebody that looked like Dave.
Yeah, or make him, make a mole or a face or some shit, whatever And then David said, "I got a twin brother," and back then Vince said, "Fly him up."
So they had this idea before they realized you guys were twins.
Right.
So on your first visit with Vince, did he bring anything like that up, or did he just tell you he wanted your services to come on up?
Yeah, he said David came home and said Vince wants to fly us up. I think 2 days after David got home, he said Vince wants to fly us up, and boom, it was done so quick, it was unreal. And then after we, like I said, after holding that envelope, I go, "You damn right, I'll take this job."
A nice envelope, huh?
Oh, man.
So was the storyline pitched to you right away?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the whole idea with Hogan and all that was right away.
Well, they knew what they wanted, and then they knew what they wanted to do, and I guess JBL, they put it together, after knowing they had two twins, then they could go ahead and do what they wanted to do, And then after that, about a week later, we flew up to Connecticut or Stanford, and we stayed in a hotel across the street, which y'all know that too. And we practiced for 3 days, and then we went home. And we came back again, and we practiced for 2 or 3 days and getting it all together. And that was about it. But we did it where there was nobody around to see us. except it was Pat Patterson, Vince, Andre, Hogan, Terry Garvin, and I think that's about it.
I know you're a nervous guy. What was your nerve like during those auditions? And I'm sure you were sworn to secrecy. I mean, it had to be really raging through your mind at the time.
Man, just being there and seeing that operation from what I was used to, it was just unreal for me. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, Earl, that a lot of us, old timers, really were amazed at. I mean, we were used to what we thought were really, really, state of the art facilities and stuff like that, but we were so archaic, in doing studio wrestling and all this stuff.
Right.
All of a sudden, you go up there and here's this plush office. Here's this guy in a three-piece business suit sitting there instead of overalls and an old hillbilly sitting across from him trying to explain what you're doing. And all of a sudden, man, you start, man, this is big time. This is what a difference in culture. It's a cultural shock to a lot of us old Southern boys that had ever seen anything like. Was your mind racing just like mine was when I first went up there?
Man, I was going. It's like you said, Jerry. When I worked for Crockett, that was to me number one.
Yeah.
Number one.
There was nobody better. You're right.
Right, exactly. That was it, man. That was unbelievable. Then when I went up there and saw what they had, I went, holy shit! I can't believe this. You know what I mean? And I was already at a great company with what I thought was great, everything, and got there, and it was unreal. And I'm going, man, this is unreal.
But yeah, I think almost everybody goes through that, especially back in the day. You work places and you work on top a lot of places, but then you get there and you're like, oh my God, this is a different level.
I was with the TVs in Charlotte and Brisco knows this too, in the warehouse. And when it come lunchtime, you grab a KFC fried chicken leg and a biscuit and a drink, and you ate that shit, and then you went back to work. And the catering down there, good God, it's like a restaurant, you know what I mean? And that was the difference from there to here and everything. That was the difference in, I guess, big time and little time.
Did you know when you went up there that how big this storyline was going to be?
No, not at all.
You start realizing, I mean, because people now, how many ever years later, decades later, remember this like it was yesterday. It's that big of a deal. When did you start realizing during the time that this is something people are going to notice?
When we were doing all the practicing and everything, I knew it was a big deal. Okay. But when I walked in to Indianapolis in that building, and I walked up and I looked around that building, and that damn thing was sold out before it ever got people in it. I'm looking, oh my God. And I went right to Vince's office and stayed in there the whole day, never come out. And David was out walking around, of course, but when I walked in, everybody goes, hey Dave. I go, hey, how y'all doing? And I just keep going,
So the talent hadn't figured it out really either. That's amazing.
It's amazing that this thing was kept kayfabe that long and nobody knew about it. Honest to God, I thought it would never work, but it did.
And what was the fallout right away from it? Like, how was the heat? How was all that stuff in there? What was it like being out there?
Let me tell you what, this is the truth. That was my first crowd that I had ever worked in front of, that many people. And I was nervous as hell. Okay, and man, I was just like a zombie in there, looking around on all these people and knowing what I was going to do, And I'm thinking, okay. And this is the truth. I was so nervous that when I kicked David, I knocked myself down. I stiffed the hell out of him, the punch and the kick. Okay. Then when Hogan picked me up at the practice, Hogan would just walk to the ropes and boom, here you go, guys. A lot of normal deal. And when he picked me up and started running, I go, this ain't the program here. This ain't the plan. This ain't the plan. And when he launched me, brother, I was gone.
You guys didn't rehearse that back in Connecticut at all, then, man.
No, he just picked me up and took me to the ropes and said, "I'm gonna just dump you right here." Boom. I said, "Okay," because everybody be standing, by the ring, and they'd catch me. And when he started running,
You could feel the adrenaline through those.
brother. When he started running, I knew this wasn't the plan. And when he shot me, boom, I was gone. And I messed my rotor cup up, and I flew home at next day, and I couldn't move my arm, and I told them. And 2 days later, they flew me to Birmingham. Oh, got X-rays. I'm sorry. And then they flew me to Birmingham, and Dr. Andrews operated on me and put it all back together because my rotor cup had split.
Now, when this happened with your phone, I mean, we didn't have cell phones back that time, obviously, but with your home phone ringing off the hook, Earl, what the hell?
Oh my God. Yeah, it was worse than Montreal. Well, nothing's gonna be worse than Montreal. But
I don't know what you're talking about there.
But this is that was unreal. I mean, all over the news. It was I'd watch it on the TV.
On your local news, but was your local news media coming out trying to get hold of?
Hogan cut the greatest promo. How much did it cost? All the plastic surgery. How much did it cost? It was so good.
Oh, it was great.
And then, but you guys are identical twins. Did Dave catch shit going around the country thinking that it was you?
No, he put all the heat on me. My brother did it. I'd have never done that. I didn't know he was there. I didn't know he was going to do that. It was.
So Dave lived up to the storyline.
You did get sent to Vietnam.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
That's payback. So which one do you tore your rotator cuff? Was Dave hurt during that little melee too, or just you?
This is ribs where I kicked the shit out of him.
That must have been fun, kicking the shit out of your brother there like that. And especially all those people going wild there, and here's your chance to pay back for all that 5-minute harassment they give you.
Right. Here's that butter knife you had. Boom.
So how did it work after that? Because you end up staying, Dave ends up staying, but they get this kind of storyline, kind of got rid of it so that you could stay and not be just the heel referee.
Well, what it was, back then we were running 2 towns, A and a B, right? So I'd go to the A or B. One or the other would go, to the towns. We wouldn't be together, but we still got heat. They still didn't believe David was David, and they believed David was Earl. Earl was Earl. Period. It was 2 Earls.
Did you ever try to pass yourself off as David?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I said, I'm David. Earl's the one that did this shit, not me. I'd always say that.
So, but after that, you end up staying. That then Did Dave then go back into an office role?
Yeah, then they made him agent.
Right. Yeah, because he and Scollin and Lance, that was a great crew.
Oh yeah,
out there in that time. I remember one time we got Captain Lou Albano. We got Scollin so worked up we had to actually pull him back into the garden one time because we told him Lou was going to beat him up, and Arnie finally got so worked up he went looking for Lou, and we're like, oh my goodness, we've gone too far. We had to go grab Arnie and smarten him up. He was great. He and Lanza, what a great crew that was.
Lanza was the best.
Yeah. So Jack just had that way of getting along with everybody. And still maintaining that respect level that you needed in that position. And people respected Jack so much that they never really took advantage of his kindness. And Jack was one of those guys that would, as long as you didn't embarrass yourself or embarrass the company, you're all right with Jack.
Right. If what, Jack was all business, and guys knew that how far they could push him. because he was always good to everybody, just as good as he could be. But if you crossed him, you're in trouble. And he had the boys really respected Jack like no tomorrow.
Yeah. Across the board respect for Lanza.
Right, exactly.
He carried himself so well. I mean, he's a really smart guy.
How about that blackboard pad board he have? God damn it.
Yeah. He was the best. The one thing you hated to see was he'd go,
yep,
motioning you over while he's smoking that cigarette. You're going,
yeah.
Shit.
And he had the longest damn fingers in the world.
Oh my God. His hands were almost as big as Andre's.
Yeah. And when he motioned you over with that finger, it was like your dad, you got caught shoplifting or something. Oh, crap.
Sounds like you had a little experience at that.
You think? He told
Hey,
me.
I can hear Jack now. That damn Bradshaw. Wait till he gets back here. When
I stole the hotel van in Winnipeg, he pulled me in the shower and he's mad at me. He's mad at me mainly because I'm screwed up his hotel deal that he had for 20 years because that was the hotel van for that hotel. So Jack probably paid like $20 Canadian for his room, something like that. He called me in there and he looked at me and goes, "You're a dumbass." And I said, "Yes, sir, I am. I have no excuse." He goes, "I'm going to fine you $250. I said, "I deserve it." And he goes, "All right, go." And then he didn't find me. I actually went out with him later that night. And I guess because I actually just ate it. And
yeah. You didn't fight the situation. You knew you were guilty.
That's right. I knew 100% I was guilty. And I had no argument. When he says you're a dumbass, and yes, sir, I am. I agree with you. And it threw him also. He was in there with your brother Dave because he had to put me in there to reprimand me for stealing the van.
Were you ever along with any of those ribs like that, Earl, with JBL and his crew that was ribbing all the time?
Oh yeah.
But the guys, as you know, referee are rib each other all the time. Do the referees kind of, when they're circle, kind of rib each other back and forth? And what are some of the great ribs in that?
Oh yeah. They would some of them would take their shoes and tie knots in them, and so they couldn't get them undone and shit like that. Nothing really major physically. It was just a joke, a rib. Yeah. Or you take your referee shirt and hide it. And then when it was time to get dressed, you couldn't find it. Or I'd be in the shower soaking wet or whatever.
You and Dave obviously traveled together a lot. Who were your other traveling mates during that time?
It was mostly me, Dave, and Jack. And then when Jack won't work it'd be me and David and George. And I think the trainer was with us too, now and then.
What, Frenchie? What was that guy's Frenchie? Doc Frenchie?
The big fat one.
We can't say that on TV anymore.
Okay. All right, the heavy fat one.
Okay.
Speaking of heavy, the biggest rib was Chimmel. Just having Chimmel anywhere.
Hey, let me tell you this joke. We were in Houston, Texas, at the same Houston building. Ahmed Johnson was the champion then. Owen went up to the music thing, and he put Hogan's music in. And when they announced the world heavyweight champion, Ahmed Johnson, they hit Hogan's music, and Jack went crazy. Oh my God. That's one of the things I'll never forget.
Lanza told me one time, I was sitting there because I love Jack, and even when he had to get on to me, but I always loved it. And he goes, "Where's Owen?" And I said, "Jack, I don't know." He goes, "Go get him. His music's playing." So I went and I finally found a payphone bank backstage, and I found Owen on the payphone calling somebody, and his music is playing. He can barely hear the person on the phone. He knows his music's playing. He has to. So I'm sitting there and I go, Owen, your music's playing. And he goes, oh yeah, sorry. He goes, hey, I gotta go. He goes, when did that happen? And he goes right back to the phone. Owen, Jack's gonna kill me if you don't come. You gotta go now. Owen was awesome.
What a guy, the biggest rib in the business. I don't think he ever rented a rental car, and God knows how many people he stayed with for free.
That's right. Yeah. Owen used to love staying with fans. He'd stay with fans all over the place. He used to love to see how much money he could save.
Mm-hmm.
Like a big rib. Davey Boy used to register under a fake name so Owen couldn't find him. So Davey was scared of Owen ribbing him because Owen ribbed him all the time because everybody else ran from Owen.
Mm.
It was such a great crew. And I used to watch your matches you'd have. I remember when Triple H would be out there and, with somebody that wasn't such a great worker, he had half his match with you. He would. Y'all do a push spot. You'd hit the ropes, hit the push spot on Triple H. You go flying and everybody pop. And it was great.
I tell you, really, truly, back then, when it was WWF, those guys just put me over so much. Flair and all of them. I mean, they made me the superstar that I am from what they gave me to do in the ring. Solid let me hit toss him.
Yeah.
Earl, you and Dave both were such tremendous guys, and that's the reason the amount of respect that you guys earned to do that. Guys just don't do that with everybody. They do it with guys that earn the respect backstage and earn the respect in front of the crowd too, which you had command when you went out to the ring. And that's something that your brother and yourself worked on real hard, I know, was to make everything, because you come from a school of trying to make it legitimate, trying to make it people believe what you're doing is real. And that was hard to do at times in our business, but you guys worked your butts off. So, John brought that up with you and Triple H. I've forgotten all about that, but that was some of the highlights of the night in those dark matches and those house show matches. You and Triple H going at it out there. I mean, just having fun and the people buying every minute of it. That had to make you feel good to be in that position to do that.
Oh my God, we were somewhere. You got to go back and look at it. But I was in the ring with Triple H, and we did a little push spot. I kicked him. He fell out. Here comes Billy. Here comes X-Pot. Here comes Road Dogg. And I'm looking at them, and they're running. They're going, hit me. I go, what? Hit me. Boom. Now one down, the other one come up. Boom. I mean, that's the lucky things that these guys gave me in this business. They gave me so much that it's unreal. It wasn't me, it was them that made me, Hey,
there was the respect that you had, though, Earl, that allowed that to happen. The ordinary referees, you don't see it happen to a lot of those guys. But the ones that really earned the respect, they trusted you and knew that you weren't trying to outshine them, and that's the reason they put you in that position.
Hey, I'll tell you a good one, Jerry. You talk about respect and love of the boys for Earl, which is all true. We're in the Garden one time, and I think it's me, Ron, and Rock. I think that's who it was, because Rock is up on the turnbuckle doing his gimmick, and DX is outside. I don't know if it's all of DX, but I know it was Billy and Road Dogg, because they factor into this pretty quick. Some guy jumps the rail and tries to get into the ring, and me and Ron are sitting there waiting on the guy. He's dead meat, because the guy's got to climb through the ropes. He gives you his head. He's not gonna. This doesn't end well. So security grabs him, and he drags security all over ringside. And so finally, Billy Gunn goes over there, grabs him, leg sweeps him, takes him down, and goes, "Okay, get him out of here." When Billy lets him go, he drags security around ringside again. So all this is going on during Rock's pose, and Rock's getting mad because obviously everything's getting ruined. This is the main event in Madison Square Garden. Billy goes and grabs him again. They have big, strong hands of Billy, grabs him, leg sweeps him, takes him down, and goes, "Get him out of here." So finally he gets up, they drag security around again. Earl climbs out of the ring, walks over there and goes, wham! Blood goes everywhere. And he goes, will you get him out of here? Now the guy's like, oh, my nose.
Well, that was something that
he hit him so hard. And there was so much blood that Road Dogg is standing beside him. And Road Dogg, I guess, had gotten in an altercation with a fan or something. It was like some legal proceeding or something. Road Dogg goes, I didn't do anything. I did nothing. The guy's laid on the ground, blood everywhere.
And that again is some of the respect that the Hebners had, because neither one of them, when fans would enter that ring, neither one of them were afraid to pop a guy. And I've seen many times both of them just turn it so casually, like nothing was to it. Just turn, oh, okay, oh, pop up the guy, go down out of the ropes, and they just continue on with the match like nothing ever happened. Oh, this little slide in, or oh, we'll go, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian took after his dad. We're sitting there one time. We're like somewhere in the Southwest, and it's a huge Latino crowd, and I'm wrestling Eddie Guerrero. As soon as I get into the ring, start the match with Eddie, a fan tries to get to me. When he does, Eddie gets mad and goes after the fan. So I double leg Eddie, and I'm holding Eddie down. I'm going, Eddie, you're the baby face. I'm really the one that needs to handle this. And Eddie's mad because this guy had screwed up the match. Well, the guy is trying to get into the ring. Well, Earl's boy, Brian, goes over there and turns into Ray Guy or Pat McAfee and punched this guy's head off his shoulders. It was, oh my goodness. It didn't end well for the guy. It's good to be in the ring with a Hebner. You're very safe. So when security drug him to the back, now it's just now they got all security back there, and they beat, that was back in the day when they beat him up pretty bad, beat up the guy pretty bad. And I get on the microphone, I said, listen, anybody else wants to come over that rail, I'll beat up this entire arena. And so I threw down the microphone, and Brian looks at me, he goes, what are you doing? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I said, you watch my back, I'll watch yours. He goes, you're an idiot.
The Hebners weren't afraid to speak the truth there, John.
No, it's safe to be in the ring with a Hebner. So tell you, we got to ask you before you go, we got to ask you about Jerry screwing Brett up in Montreal, because this was all Jerry.
Hey, in our post meeting, you said you weren't going to bury me, John.
So, Earl, I don't know if this had anything to do with it. I was there that night, and you and Dave used to always get your beer and stuff, for the car and stuff. And I don't remember if it was you or Dave, but one of you had your bags in the dressing room. And I remember asking Tim White, is anything going to happen tonight? And Tim had no idea. He goes, not that I know of, kid. I go, okay. So I saw you guys move your bags, and I said, what's up? I can't remember if it was Earl. I remember it was you or Dave. And I said, what's up, Dave, Earl? Oh, just moving our bags and get them into the car. So I didn't know if that was you guys had just found out or not, but it all seemed very suspicious.
You don't really want me to tell you?
Yes.
Do you want me to bury Brisco?
Yes. I want to bury Brisco.
Huh?
Yes.
Go ahead. I won't be the first time I've been buried.
I love Brisco. I love you to death. And
I know you do, brother. I love you too.
But it is all his fault.
But when Brisco gave me the news, the number one man other than Vince McMahon, I told my brother, get my shit together. When Brisco was talking to me, he laid it out, and I go, I don't know. I just don't know. Brisco disarmed, Brisco graphic. What do you mean you don't know? He's got $3 million contract down there. Is he going to give you any of it? What are you going to do? I go, I don't know, Jerry. Bless his heart. And I go, man, whatever, I'm going nuts now. But Brisco, I still got the bruise on my arm.
You just did it to yourself so you could tell this damn story.
So when Dave came to get your stuff, you had just told him.
Yeah, I said, get the car ready. This is all
okay, because I was in the locker room, and I remember, after the fact, you realize what happened, but I didn't realize at the time. I said, "What are you guys doing, Dave?" And I saw him getting all the stuff together, and he goes, "Oh no, just getting ready so we can get out before the crowd." I didn't realize that Jerry had already pulled this master plan.
Oh, and I'm going,
Okay,
okay.
here's what really happened. Earl was getting ready to come to the ring, and I know the Hebner's routine. They're the first ones out of the building. I mean, they can be on the after show and still be the first ones out of the building because they had those ways of getting out. So I went to when Earl was getting ready to start the match. We were making all the introductions and everything. I called Earl those backstairs there. And I laid it out to him, basically what Earl said, and all that. And so, and I said, Earl, I said, you got a good job. You're making good money. The office depended on you because they know they could trust you. We couldn't go to anybody else to make this happen and everything. I said, you might want to have Dave get your baggage and have the car started and turned around and headed out of the building. Because if you remember Montreal, that parking lot down on the floor below the arena there, I mean, it was a jungle down there trying to get your car out, even on a good night, So I didn't want them to get caught up in all the stuff there. But Earl vouched for the first guy I got out of the ring was who, baby Earl?
Me.
Was you. Come to you, and I walked you to the back. I passed you off to your brother, and whoever else was in your car, and I could get out of here.
Right.
And you guys took off,
Right.
So I made sure you were the first one out safely. So I was looking after you.
It's unreal, but it is what it is.
Hey, Earl, what were you thinking at the time? I mean, this had to be one of the craziest things ever told to you.
Well, the bad thing was when we left Ottawa to come to Montreal, Brett brought me a first class seat on Air Canada, right? He's talking to me, he goes, "You won't count me out, will you?" I go, "No." I didn't count him out. If you go back and look. But and I'm thinking, oh my God. And that was probably one of the stressful things I've ever done in my life. At that I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. Like Jerry said, I was on my way to the ring. And you got it's like your music's playing, you're standing there like Owen Hart. Got to go. And it was horrible. That ring, walking to that ring felt like 10 miles away. And I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? It was
Earl, I gotta ask you, were there any doubts in your mind as you were walking to the ring? Am I going to do this, or was you pretty well steadfast on what you told me you were going to do it?
I was pretty well zeroed in. I was going to do it because the bad thing, you stop and think about this. You're only the person who made you. Okay. You got 40 guys that you've wrestled and they put you over and made you who you are. So regardless, if you're going down to the WCW with the belt, like Launder Blaze, you're going to throw it in the trash can, and then you're going to hurt everybody's feelings, or you're going to mess up everybody that's helped you be who you are. And I felt like, honestly, after talking to you and you talking to me, he was robbing the roster. He didn't care about nobody, in a sense, from what he wanted to do, what he could have done. And it was just, he was hurting everybody. And I couldn't see everybody, letting everybody down. You know what I mean? And it would, like you said, you gave me the deal, and I had to go for it to protect not only the company, but the boys. And that's my thoughts of it.
A lot of, that time was such a crazy time. We're losing to WCW at that time.
Right.
If we lose Brett, which we're already losing, this great champion, which we're losing, which scared me to death, losing Brett. I'd never seen guys leave a territory. I remember Lanza was the one that kind of pulled me aside, and I said, "I've never seen anything like this." I said, "Are we in trouble?" He said, "Nah, we lost Hogan before, we lost Ward before." He said, "That guy," he pointed to Vince, he goes, "He'll figure it out." And which made me feel a lot better. But if you lose Brett and the championship, I mean, that's a huge blow, you know, that it's going to be really tough to recover from. You know, it's such a weird times and such a weird dynamic of what was happening and what was going on with the dynamic between Brett and Sean, that Brett didn't want to lose to Sean in his home country. You know, it was a very unique time in history.
Right. It was. But
and did you have an earpiece in, and did you know when the reverse sharpshooter was put on? Did you know then, or did you have an earpiece in to ring
Brisco told me when he gets Brisco told me when he puts a sharpshooter on, wait 3 to 5 seconds and ring the bell. And I didn't even I waited 3 to 5 seconds and rung your bell.
And Jerry, what were your thoughts? I mean, you're the one that had to talk to Earl. You're the one that had to convince him and lay out the plan for it, everything.
You read history, and it sounds like I wasn't even there half the time because so many people take credit for this day, and I'm glad they do because I don't want credit for it, you know. So, but talking to Baby Earl, I mean, it was one of the hardest conversations I ever had to talk to a talent about because, I mean, there were doubts in my mind if we were doing the right thing because I'm an old traditionalist, you know, but also, you know, one of my biggest thoughts was, you know, Stu Hart had a territory. What would Stu Hart do if this was happening in his territory? And I kind of threw that out and tried to analyze that in my mind. Or what would Eddie Graham do? Or what would Jim Crockett do? And you can't let your champion walk out with a title and with no guarantees that, you know, it's going to be returned to you. So talking to Earl, and I could see the look in Earl's face, the panic in his face, and I'm sure he saw the panic in my face too, because it wasn't an easy job to do or on either side of the deal. But I tell you what, I know the Hebners like I knew, and that's the reason they were handpicked for this. I know the Hebners like I knew that they were company guys. I knew they would do what was best for the business at that moment. Now, and what we presented to them, and I had no doubt in my mind that he was the best guy to carry this thing out. And Earl was the best one to do it. I mean, Timmy White, God bless his soul, Timmy could have done it, but Timmy would have been a foil because Timmy was such an office guy, so loyal to the business that, you know, something would have been suspected. We'd pulled Earl out, put Timmy in. I mean, everybody in the world would have known something was coming down, you know. So we really had no choices. If Earl would have told me no, honestly, I don't know what the hell I would have done. I'd probably got on the bus. I probably would have got down the next flight of stairs, got in the car with Dave told him get me out of the building. Because I wouldn't want to see Vince afterward. But it was tough. But when Earl nodded his head and said, "I'll do it," because I point blank, I looked at Earl right now. I said, "Tell me, Earl. Tell me the damn truth. Are you going to do it or you're not going to do it? You got a choice right now." He looked me right square in the eyes and said, "Mr. Brisco, I'll do it just like that." Right, Earl?
Right. But let me say this too. This is the truth too. Okay. If it had, and I'm not saying this just because of you, Jerry, believe me, but I'm saying this because of all the years I've been around you and your brother. And I don't think anybody there could have told me what you told me and I'd have went along with it. Because truthfully, in my heart, you were the person that was picked for this special, as far as making me do what I did, or making my mind up to do what I did. Because any other agent, I don't think I would have really taken it to heart to do it. Is the way you gave it to me, and the person that you are to me, and been around me for those many years. It was like the trust in my heart that I knew what you were talking about, and somebody else that I knew was okay, but I didn't have. I don't think I could have given the other person the same feelings from my heart that we gave each other from heart to heart.
Thank you, John. This is the first time Earl and I really talked about this thing like this. I mean, the very first time we've ever sat down and had this conversation, right, Earl? I mean,
right. I don't think we ever talked about it, period, till today.
Yeah.
Like we have today. Never.
And all this happened when Earl was preparing to go to the ring, right? I mean, this.
Yeah. The music was playing. Guys were going to the ring, and the referee was already supposed to be in the ring. But I stopped Earl. That's when I stopped Earl. Earl was getting ready when, Sean's music was getting ready to play, and the Brett's music. I pulled Earl back to the corner, like I said, out of the sight of everybody, because I know if anybody would have saw me talking to Earl at that time, they would have known something was going on. So I couldn't talk to him in the beginning because Earl, I love him to death, and Earl will admit Earl wears their feelings in his face here. I mean, something going down. Earl's going to wear that feeling all day long. And I didn't want to put it on all day long. Vince was asking me, have you talked to Earl yet? No, I haven't. Well, you need to talk to him. I said, I will. Well, when you got, I mean, all day long I was getting pestered. And Vince is the only one, of course, in my circle that knew what I was doing, So I didn't have to hide from anybody else. But I got where I was hiding from Vince because I knew I didn't want to put the pressure on Earl. All day long, I'm walking through backstage and talking with Brad, going over the match and all that stuff. I didn't want to put that pressure on Earl at all. So I knew the best time to talk to him is on the way to the ring. So I took a calculated risk that I could convince him to do what the office needed to be done.
Earl, what did Dave say did you tell Dave right away? And that's when he came and got your stuff?
I told him to get my stuff, that the thing won't work right. I said the match is not working right, and that's all I said. Then I explained to him on the way to the hotel.
When you got down to the car, what was reaction? I mean, he obviously didn't know because he was waiting in the car for you.
No.
What did you tell him? Well, we got to get out of here now.
I said, get the hell out of here now.
Because everybody, when you pulled out of that Montreal exit where there are no fans are right on top of the car.
Right. You only had that one ramp, and they'd have tore that car to pieces and killed me probably, all of us. And then I got back to the hotel and I took all the furniture and put it at the door.
Were you getting phone calls and stuff like that all night long or what?
No.
Nobody knew where you guys were staying though, right?
Right. But I was scared to death somebody was going to kill me.
Me too.
But I did get out of Montreal.
Yeah.
When did you get out of Montreal?
We went to I went to the next TV after Montreal. Ottawa. Yeah. And then
that's when everybody, Mick had walked out and a couple of guys were threatening to walk out and all that stuff.
Right.
Did you get any harsh feedback that day, Earl, or guys basically on your side or what?
Not really, because when Vince had that meeting in catering, he said, Earl did what I asked him to do, and if anybody don't like it, he said, you can stand up and come to my office and I'll give you a release right now. And the only one at that time was Taker. Taker thanked me for what I did and said, you did a good job. You did right. A lot of people said it too, but Taker was the first one that approached me and said, if anybody gives you any shit, you let me know. I said, okay.
Wow. So, and what was it like right after that flying? I mean, you still had to fly out of Canada.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Customs let you out, or immigration let you out.
Right. But I think I had security going to the airport. I did. And after that,
you did. We had security for you going to the airport.
Right. Yep. But a guy, this is no shit. A guy, some promoter from Toronto, I can't think of his name. He called me up, and how he got my number, I don't know. He called me up and said, I want to work a deal like Bret Hart on my show. He said, I'll give you $5,000 to come over here and do that match, but I want to do the same finish. I said, it'll take $10,000 to bury me. I ain't coming.
Yeah, because literally, if those fans could have got you in Montreal, they might have killed you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially doing the same thing again.
Yeah. So Jerry, who all knew?
Well, I can only go one. I was told. Kevin Dunn knew. Vince, of course, knew, and I think that. And now, I don't think anybody else knew. Not certainly in my circle, because I was traveling with Jim Roth, Pat Patterson, and Bruce Pritchard. And the night I was at the pre-production meeting in Montreal the night before. After production meeting was over with, Johnny and Earl have been to plenty of these production meetings. They're long, tedious, and you just want to get the hell out of there, and get out without getting the boss in your ear for anything. So we were wrapping up the meeting. Vince was wrapping up the meeting. Everybody folding their books up, their run sheets up, and when we got to the match, we laid out a finish like a normal finish. But the finish is to be determined, but Sean goes over, I think that was it. So as we were wrapping up and I was getting ready to walk out the door in front of it, Brisco, I need to talk to you. Of course, the first thing that comes to my mind, well, what did I do? Why am I, what did I do? I know I've done screwed up and Vince wants to talk to me. So, I of course put my bag back down and I sat down. Everybody got out of the room. There's a bathroom in the back. There's a big long conference room with a bathroom in the back. Vince walks back, opens the door, looks in the bathroom, closes that bathroom door. There's two sets of exit doors. He walks over to the first set, locks the damn door, walks to the second set and locks the door. Now I'm thinking, damn, Brisco, what the hell did you do? All kinds of shit running through. Damn, Bradshaw, what did he get me into this time? So he sits down right across from me. He said, I got to ask you to do something. He said, you can tell me yes or no. And he said, it won't affect our friendship, our relationship at all. So he said, but this is what's going on. And he laid out the whole story to all the conversations he had with Brett, the week and 2 weeks previous to the match and everything. And said, I'm kind of in a predicament. How can we handle this thing? So we sat down and I asked him right off, Vince, why me? Why you have me do this? Because I never handled Brett's matches. It was always Pat handling Brett's matches because they were such tight friends and everything. So I said, why? He said, well, I can't let Pat do it because Pat's so emotional, so close to Brett that either through his emotions or his loyalty to Brett or just stumbling like Pat would do would let something out of the bag. He said, I can't go to anybody else because it would look out of place at anybody out of that top tier guys, and I considered, I guess at that time, a top tier guy. And so he said, I'm kind of putting it in your hands. He said, figure it out. Do you have any suggestions? I said, well, let's go through a few, and boy. And he said, then I came up with the sharpshooter thing. And, like I said, it didn't take a genius to come up with that sharpshooter thing. And everybody in the business has taken credit for, well, hell, get him in a sharpshooter and ring the bell, Well, I hadn't talked to everybody in the business, about it. So I was just sitting across from Vince at the time. So about 2 hours later, Vince told me Sean was coming in a couple hours later because you guys had a house show, I think, in Detroit or somewhere afterward. You guys were coming in late that night. He said, get with Sean and go up and help Sean in case Brett tries something on him, but, you can help him out with. So, and so I waited and I was in the bar with Bruce, of course, and JR. The bartender said, Mr. Brisco, you have a call. So I told the front desk when Sean checks in to give me a call and I needed to talk to him. So front desk called me and he said, Sean's here. So I called Sean's room, went up to Sean's room. We worked out a couple little things, mostly for self-defense, wasn't aggressive stuff or anything like that, just what to do in case something happened to him. So Bruce, I thought Bruce would kind of catch on at that moment there. So it was a real stressful night for me. I didn't sleep, and I'm sure nobody else slept that night. And the next night, of course, I didn't sleep either. After the fact. But that was kind of how it was laid out to me, and so I knew. I mean, it didn't take a genius. When the finish, finish as a sharpshooter. And he's supposed to tap out. So, I'd known because reading the agent reports and all those matches prior to that, you probably handled every one of them. That was one of their high spots in the matches. When I was talking to Sean, I said, Sean, is there a spot where you guys going? Because the thing to do is, Sean, as a champion, you going to put each other in your own finishes, during the course of the match. So having that experience, and Sean says, yeah, I'll get him in the sharpshooter. I said, okay, that's the deal right there. Right when you get him in, I'll have the referee count a few seconds before he rings the bell. As Brett turns over, because Brett turns over, you tap the mat, as you're turning over. Not that you're tapping out, you're just tapping the mat to keep your balance, as you're turning over. So I knew that spot would come. So I knew if there was a replay, well, right here, when he's turning right here, Brett tapping the mat. So, just 2 and 2, a common sense type thing. So that's basically how me and Sean come up with what to do. And so after I met with Sean about 1 o'clock in the morning, Vince called me about 2 o'clock in the morning. Have you met with Sean? I said, yeah. You got it figured out? Yeah. He said, I won't know about it until tomorrow. He said, first thing tomorrow, he said, let's have breakfast and we'll talk about it. So I met with Vince for breakfast the next morning and kind of laid it out. And I kind of asked him, well, who knows? He said, of course, the truck knows. I said, well, who all in the truck? He said, Kevin. So Kevin, as far as I know, Kevin being Vince, and I mean, there might have been a couple others in the next year circle that knew about it. But as far as I know, we were the only three at that time. It was Kevin, Vince, and myself that knew what we were doing.
What did Sean say when you talked to him? Was that the first Sean had heard of this?
Well, Sean, Vince and Sean had kind of talked, and we'll have to do something. But Sean didn't know what something was, And I give the guy credit because we all know, Brett was a pretty tough guy. Brett is a pretty tough guy. I mean, if I had to pick my winner in a fight between the two, I'd pick Brett 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, because the intestinal fortitude that Brett a little bit tougher, mentally tougher guy than Sean. I mean, doesn't make him a better athlete or anything, but. Sean didn't know what we were doing. So that's when first Sean heard how we were actually going to do the finish. Now, whether Sean went and told his inner circle guy, I don't think he did, because nobody came up to me during the course of the day, which if you know something, Ron's doing something and you know it, you're going to come up to me and kind of fill me out to see if I know. So nobody, and I touched base, and me and Sean were very careful that day about what our conversation with each other too. I kind of like, he's over this side of catering, I'm over this side of catering. We never, every once in a while, we kind of buzz by each other in the hallway. Everything okay? Yeah. How about on your end? Yeah. Okay. So, but Earl didn't know until the music was in. Until the music was in. So
right.
It was something I don't think I'm trying to put myself through again today, or put anybody else through, especially a friend like Earl was through again today. And I mean. And then I'm thinking too, well, I got to go home. I got to face my brother, who's a traditionalist in this business, and because the phone call at the body shop the next day was ringing off the hook. Your brother screwed Brett. Your brother screwed Brett. I mean, right away it was my fault. I don't know how I got out that quick. It was my fault, but right away we were getting threatening calls at the shop and everything else. So I had to go home and face my brother. Once I laid it out to Jack, he said, "What do you think?" He said, "You did the right thing." So that was the one guy that I wanted to make sure I had. But I wanted to call him that night, but I knew I couldn't call him that night to tell him, because I didn't want to keep him up all night long and worry about me, my safety getting out of Canada. So that was basically the story. I mean, it was a hectic night for both of us. Something we lived with for years, and me and Earl both had fun with it a little bit later on down during our careers, but it took a while for us to even relax enough to even talk to the casual friends about it. At least I did, Earl. I don't know about you.
I don't make a big issue of it. I've had what's his name, Conrad?
Yeah.
Thomas. He called me up it was like a 25th anniversary of it or whatever it was, and wanted me to be on this podcast. I told him, nope, I didn't do it. I said, nope, I'm not talking about the Bret Hart deal. I'm finished with it. I'm done with it. I don't need to talk about it. And I didn't do it.
Well, good. I feel the same way now. I mean, I'm finished with it, and this is a special occasion because you and I get to talk about it for the first time. And I really don't want to, I mean, it's there in history for anybody to read. We can't add anything to it or take away anything.
Right.
But, it happened. And looking back, was it the right thing to do? Probably, and because of where the business was headed at that time. And
Right.
with if Brett would go down there and hadn't been kicked in the head by Goldberg, who knows, it might have been beneficial for him too. But the way things worked out, he was the victim of the whole thing, and so. But I respect, just to get it clear, I respect Brett. I respect his championship run. I respect him as a champion just about as much as I do anything, because when he was wearing that title belt, he'd go out and he'd represent that championship as good or better than anybody in the history of our business.
Right. And the thing about it too is that Brett and I are friends now.
Sure.
He texts me when my brother passed away, and he texts me at Christmas and everything else. And like I tell these people that want to get the inside scoop, I go, we're friends, and I'm not about to stir the pot up no more. It's over with. It's done. I have nothing to say.
I feel the same way. I hope that Brett and I are friends. I mean, when we see each other, we don't get daggers through our eyes at each other anymore. No. So, I hope that he's over it. I know I certainly am, and I don't. And if it hadn't, because John and I even talked about it, because I really didn't want to talk about it in this episode because we're not about that kind of stuff in this show here. We're all positive and everything, but hell, it's part of history. You just something that you really can't ignore. And when you have two of the major players in the same show here like that, it'd be remiss, or that our fans probably be pissed off if we didn't bring it up. So. Well, I appreciate you sharing your sentiments towards it. We're not here to bury anybody, and we both agree on our story. So if two out of the three people agree on what happened, it probably happened that way. So that's all I got to say.
Right. But Brett and I've been on a convention, and they asked Brett if Earl's on this, is that going to bother? He said no, bring him on, and. We were on one that they even took pictures of he and I together. So, I don't need to bring back old memories. Brett and I are friends, and that's what I tell everybody. I have nothing to say.
Well, I'm glad. Number one, I'm more happy that you and Brett I put it beside you, and you guys are friends now, because that always really bothered me as a friend of yours and personal that I had to put a friend in that position. But that was our jobs, Earl. I mean, that was what we were paid to do.
Right.
And we did our job, and we did it to the best of our ability. But all through the years, it always kind of hit me up here that, man, I put Earl in a really unfortunate position. But unfortunately, you were the chosen referee that night.
Well,
because of that reason. Because we knew you were loyal, and we knew you would see it the right way.
Well, in all truth, like I said earlier, it had more to do with who told me than just a normal person. Truthfully, my hand to God.
Thank you, brother.
It means a lot, because I don't know. Truthfully, I don't even know if I don't listen to anybody else other than Vince. If Vince is sitting there, I believe that other than you, I don't believe that, because I don't know. People are just so full of shit anyway. And somebody that, like I know, like I said, I've known you all my whole life. So I can trust you. From what you told me, I can trust you. Somebody else that I've been around 5 or 6 or 10 years, I didn't have the same bond with anybody else like I had with you. So I don't really know if I could have really trusted them that far for that much. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you, my brother. I mean, it means a lot to me for you to say that, because all these years, I felt guilty. That's probably the reason why we never talked about it, because I probably felt the guiltiest one, because I put you in the middle of something that that, you know, was very controversial at the time. It
Yeah.
still is 25 years later, you know. But it is
Hey.
behind us now. So you and Brad are back friends, and that's the fantastic
That's
thing
it.
about this.
Yep. That's it.
And you know what was incredible about that, Jerry and Earl, is that was one of the pivotal moments in wrestling, because that created the evil Mr. McMahon, you know, which was this great character who feuded with Stone Cold, which was a side benefit from all this that WWE didn't know they were getting. And unfortunately, this great champion, and I always thought Bret Hart to me was the stereotypical world champion. You know, he looked like a world champion. He carried himself like a world champion. He wrestled like a world champion. I mean, Bret was a pro's
A
pro.
world champion now.
That he was a world champion. Bret was the man for good reason. But when he went out in WCW, unfortunately, he got hurt, and they didn't get that champion. You know, so WWE came out of it the winner and all of it. So
Right.
unfortunate circumstances for Bret. They were getting a great champion, but then he got hurt and wasn't able to wrestle.
He never got to prove his record down there.
That's right. That's right. Because he would have done great things down there as he did in WWE.
Right.
Because I can tell you so many times when I saw Bret work with anybody. Bret could have a good match with anybody. At a 30-minute match. That guy he was special.
Yeah, they don't come along like that very much, you know, and we're fortunate to see the Bret Hart that was the champion, and the Bret Hart that deserved to be champion, and we were able to see that progression that carried when he first came into territory all the way up to when he was champion there. So we're all lucky to see that side of Bret Hart, you know, and so. You know, he was a great champion. There's no denying it, but you know, it is what it is. Business happens, and you know, our business is a strange business to say the least. But you know, we all survived it, so that's the important thing. So it was great to have you on, Baby Earl. I appreciate you opening up about this. It's something that John and I talked about in a pre-meeting, and I wasn't really comfortable doing it. Unless Earl brings it up, I really didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
You know, to get into.
But you brought the good points up. You didn't. Everybody else that wants me to talk negative, and I didn't want to do that.
Well, there's really not too many negative points that we could talk about Bret Hart. I mean,
Right. But I meant they want to blame me and all the bullshit. They want to put the heat on me instead of like we just did. We made it truthful.
I hope so, and I'm glad you said it that way. But Baby Earl, thank you for your time today.
Hey, wait, before we go, Earl, what are you doing now? What are you doing now?
Oh, thank you, John. So we're in St. Louis together, man. Don't forget that. I'm going into the St. Louis Hall of Fame.
Right.
Are you there, Earl?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I'm coming down there. I'm inducting Mr. Brisco into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm there. Yeah. We'll get together.
Oh, I look forward to it. That'll be a lot of fun.
May 13th. May 13th, isn't it?
I always had so much fun with you, Earl. It just brings a smile to my face every time I'd see you in the back of the dressing room, in the ring, whatever. You're one of the good guys.
Well, thank you.
And see you May 13th at St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame there in St. Louis, Missouri, man. It's going to be fun. There's a lot of our old cronies there. I hope I don't have to come to the bar and break you and Bradshaw up on anything.
No, me and Bradshaw, we're on a behaving list now. When we leave home, our wives tell us if you get in any trouble, to bring your ass back here.
That's right. Time has mellowed us.
There you go.
Hey, Earl, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
You too. Good seeing you guys. Really believe me. Ever since Brisco called me, I've been looking forward to this.
Us too.